Syria on table as Cameron meets Obama, Netanyahu meets Putin. British Prime Minister David Cameron meets U.S. President Barack Obama. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is to meet Russian leader Vladimir Putin with the issue to be discussed in the Syrian crisis. It says here Cameron hailed a real breakthrough in the diplomatic efforts to end their current crisis, as they call it. It's, of course, engineered crisis in Syria. They go on there and they told NPR, John Kerry, that they made a real breakthrough in talks with Putin when they agreed to an American-Russian peace conference. This isn't the first time that Putin or a Russian official visited Israel or had some kind of relations with Israel, but it kind of seems like it's more just they're just playing the game. But who knows? British MP calls for direct military intervention in Syria. A senior British MP has called on the UK government to stand ready to intervene in Syria militarily to what he described as preventing Al-Qaeda getting hold of Syrian government's chemical weapons. So these outside forces or entities or countries are creating this crisis, engineering it, putting pressure on Assad to step down. And he goes on and quotes Bashar al-Assad's government or Assad's collapse. The weapons could be stolen by terrorists and used against UK. So again, this is the same narrative that European nations are doing. They're supporting terrorists, they're creating this crisis, and then, ooh, the terrorists that we're arming and that we're radicalizing and funding might come back to bite us in our own ass. Well, it works out for them either way, because, you know, even if some of their own citizens get blown up or killed or whatever from a, quote, terrorist attack, well, then it just basically allows them to go on the whole war on terror mission with surveillance and that. Gates says no to direct military involvement in Syria. So the former Defense Secretary Robert Gates says he thinks the U.S. intervention or direct U.S. intervention in Syria's civil war would be a mistake. He says, haven't we learned that when you go to war, the outcomes are unpredictable? And the big news, of course, is Turkey, the Syrian border explosion. Again, this is, we'll get into it. Turkey's policies on Syria bring shameful catastrophe, says Iran MP. He's lashed out at Turkey for arming and training militants who are the main factor behind the killing of innocents in Syria. He says Turkey has clear policies on Syria, and the Turkish government has caused a tragedy in the Arab country by supporting terrorist groups which brought shame to the Muslim world. He added that all events taking place in Syria are because of the policies pursued by Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and Turkey. Syria denies responsibility for the blast. Damascus on Sunday denied Turkish accusations that it was behind the twin car bomb attacks that left at least 46 people dead in the Turkish town near the Syrian border. Syria did not commit and would never commit such an act because our values would not allow it, said the information minister for Syria. He says it is Turkish Prime Minister Erdogan who should be asked about this act. He and his party bear direct responsibility. He says we have established that they are linked to groups supporting the Syrian regime and its intelligence services in regards to the attackers. This is my website, ggnonline.com. On YouTube, my channels are ddarko2012, ddarko2013. And the links will be posted in YouTube's video description. I have a poll up here. I'm not sure what's going on here. I understand that I'm being messed with constantly for the videos that I make. And there's just all kinds of little games that they play. Another one I think now is the poll. Sometimes it'll just disappear. Other times it'll just show that nobody else voted. So I guess you can go and try to do it. Hezbollah condemns Turkish blast bore the hallmark of intelligence agencies. So they announced in a statement that two sinful attacks in the southern town where nearly 50 people died, saying these terrorist bombings come as part of a series of similar crimes that affect innocent people in several Arab and Islamic countries, which can only be made criminal hands. Says it also bore the hallmarks of an international intelligence agencies aimed at destabilizing and creating discord and unrest in these countries. Another anti-Assad false flag from Stephen Lenman. Since early 2011, Obama's been waging proxy war on Syria. Imported death squads masquerade as freedom fighters. The scheme's familiar. It repeats. It reflects U.S. imperialism's dark side. Of course, we all know about the 1980s. CIA recruited Mujahideen fighters battled Afghanistan's Soviet occupiers. Ronald Reagan called them the moral equivalent of our founding fathers. Don't forget about Zbigniew Brzezinski saying your fight is just and all that. It says Syria is Washington's latest target. plans haven't gone as expected. Ousting another government was supposed to be easy. The U.S. enlisted terrorists are no match against Syria's military superiority. Implementing Plan B looms, says it could come at any time. Obama's heading towards full-scale intervention, and pretexts are easy to create. Assad's been falsely blamed for numerous insurgent massacres. Evidence showed he had nothing to do with them. It says more recently he was unjustifiably accused of using chemical weapons. Insurgents used them several times, as we've covered before here. A previous article said Pentagon and contractors trained them in their use. And of course, you have SAS and different Mossad agencies as well. This is how Imperial America operates. Finish up with this, and you can go in there and check it out. I'm going to keep moving because I have lots of articles to get to. Remember this, leaked emails have allegedly proved the White House gave the green light to a chemical weapons attack in Syria that could be blamed on Assad's regime and in turn spur international military action in the devastated country, and try to trace the weapons back to Ukraine / Russia. So there's a lot going on here. A lot of proxy wars and proxy conflicts going on. Turkish protesters blame government policy for bombings. They slam officials for meddling in Syria. Hundreds of anti-government protesters took to the streets in Turkey on Sunday, condemning government policy as the major cause of Saturday's car bombings. Protesters included both nationalists and leftists who accused the Erdogan government of meddling in Syria's ongoing civil war and inviting jihadist murderers into southern Turkey by overtly backing the rebels. They say Erdogan has made a big mistake. Syria was a neighbor with a fire. We should have taken the water to put it out, not gas to make it flare up, noted one of the protesters. The protest suggests that not everyone is buying this and is seeing the spillover violence as blowback for the government's hasty decision to take sides on the war. Says though exactly who launched the attacks is unclear, officials were quick to blame the Syrian government despite all those arrested for the attack were Turkish citizens, which is weird because I actually heard another article that some of them were Syrians. But they were probably just pinning the bomb attack. Kill the Syrians. Turkish mobs search out Civil War refugees after a devastating car bomb. So, of course, this is going to be propaganda. I mean, this may actually be happening, but this has come from the Telegraph. The Telegraph's Richard Spencer witnesses fear and suspicion in the Turkish border, where we already know 46 people died, 50 people. The mob shouted, "Kill the Syrians," as they marched on the Hawam family drink stall. So these refugees from Aleppo were natural targets after the bombing. There were 60, maybe 100 of them. It goes on and says they were shouting, "You are Syrian, you are bombing us." They said that they should shoot all Syrians, even the children. Now, I doubt that this actually happened because it just kind of plays into this whole now Turkish narrative because Plan B, right? They're losing in a lot of parts of Syria and the Jordan border. In Lebanon, now they're going to have, it's pretty overt in public now that Hezbollah in Lebanon and parts of Lebanon will be backing the current Syrian government. They're well aware of Israel and all their provocations and their missions and operations that they're carrying out around those border areas. So now it's back to, Syria, try to get Syria and Turkey involved in some kind of skirmishes. They've tried it before, the Turkish jet going down after violated their airspace. They've also had the terrorists unleash mortars from inside Syria, inside Turkey, and killed civilians, and to blame it on the Assad government. But it says a Turkish F-16 fighter crashed in the southeastern Turkey on Monday near the Syrian border. So there you go. After bombings, Turkey says world must act against Syria. So it says it's time for the international community to act together against this regime. We will not lose our calm heads. We will not depart common sense. We will not fall into the trap they are trying to push us into. Well, I think you've already done that by getting involved in that just so you can be a part of the EU and, be a part of that clan. West using border town bombing to push Turkish people to war with Syria. So they conducted an interview with Mark Glenn, and he goes on, he says, I think that there is much further reaching goal in all of this, which is that Turkey thinks, I underscore that word, that she is going to be able to revive herself into bringing back her glorious days of the Ottoman Empire. So basically what I was just talking about. Pipeline blast temporarily halt Iraq to Turkey oil flow. Turkey's been trying to circumvent the central government there in Baghdad and Iraq to get oil contracts going with, quote, basically the autonomous Kurdish region. And Malta says here multiple bomb explosions have once again targeted a section of a pipeline carrying Iraq crude oil to Turkey, temporarily halting the oil flow. Syria threatens to enter occupied Golan Heights after Israeli airstrike in the capital Damascus. The Syrian government has warned Israel that it would enter the occupied Golan Heights whenever it wants because it is Syria's land, a warning that came a week after the latest Israeli airstrike against military positions in the capital. Golan is a Syrian Arab land and will remain so even if the Israeli army is stationing there. We have the right to enter it and go out of it whenever we want and the way we like. So this information minister, there's a video that I saw on YouTube of him, and it was a pretty good, he was being questioned. Of course, they were all loaded questions. He answered them pretty well. Reminded me of one of the Gaddafi era, as they call it, the Jamahiriya, basically the government that was existed before the terrorists in the West took over. It was the same type of person that was very knowledgeable and basically saying that these are foreign terrorists that are doing what they're doing. Lebanese sources say intense Israeli air-ground activity. This is from a DEPCA file, so again, who knows if this is even occurring. Various Lebanese sources report intense Israeli military activity Sunday along the Israeli, Syrian, and Lebanese borders. They describe Israeli warplanes making aerial passes over South Lebanon, which they do on a daily basis. But if a drone somehow makes its way over Israel, it gets shot down. Ground forces move along the Golan border with Syria and attack helicopters flying over. So remember that Israel is actually taking these terrorists and patching them up and sending them back to the front lines. EU threatens pullout of South Lebanon peacekeepers. Europe says it will withdraw from UNIFIL unless Beirut can improve security. So they keep talking about Hezbollah. Their involvement in Syria has already affected a number of places in Lebanon, caused riots, deaths by gunfire. And it says here, in the wake of the recent kidnappings carried out by the terrorists, it says here, we are not willing to take the risk. And by the way, I just saw an article today that was reporting that those prisoners or captives that the terrorists abducted, the UN workers, they were freed. So another Syrian insurgent provocation. Appears that two powerful car bombs that went off on the Turkish-Syrian border. Says it's a dangerous turn of events, particularly as Turkish Prime Minister has dug himself into a deep hole through his support for the insurgents in Syria, and his strategy has collapsed and gone into full panic mode. Erdogan may hope to salvage some of his policy by accusing the Syrian government of the bombing. Says internationalizing the conflict, which he's trying to do, and thereby inviting a Turkish military response. The only problem is, as the MOA blog has pointed out, this town is mostly populated by pro-Assad Alawites. So as with the illogical sarin gas claims, why would the Syrian government bomb a town full of its supporters in Turkey, thereby giving Erdogan the excuse that he's been looking for? So this is the same thing that they do a lot of times. They call, I don't know if they call them suicide attacks or bomb attacks, basically usually outside schools, kills many civilians, but they also kill government officials too, like the chemical attacks. So it doesn't make any sense that they would do that to their own people like that. However, the insurgents have a long history of provocations and attempt to draw neighboring countries and beyond into their fight to overthrow the Syrian government. Also, car bombs are the insurgents' stock and trade, so there you go. Under the black flag of al-Qaeda, the Syrian city ruled by gangs of extremists. The black flag of al-Qaeda flies high over Raqqa's main square in the front of the new governor's palace. Its former occupant last seen in their prison. Their fighters, clad in black, patrol the streets or set up positions behind sandbags. So again, this is similar to Libya, right? Flying the al-Qaeda flag. Syria rebel cuts out soldier's heart and eats it on a video. Gruesome videos emerged on the internet showing a foreign-backed militant in Syria cutting out the heart of a Syrian soldier and biting into it. It's posted on Sunday. A man wearing military gear is seen, knife in hand, slicing parts of the dead soldier's torso before turning the camera and putting the heart in his mouth. I swear we will eat from your hearts and livers, the man says, referring to the Syrian government soldiers. It says the mutilation of the bodies of the enemies is a war crime, but so was the chemical attack, so was blowing up schools and stuff like that, but nobody said anything. So I would imagine kidnapping UN workers would be too, but they didn't say anything about that, so I don't expect anything. Israel tanks, bulldozers invade northeast Gaza Strip. Israeli army is preparing to launch Operation Pillar Defense 2 against the Gaza Strip in bid to eliminate Hamas resistance. Well, actually, it's just to colonize settlements, build settlements. And 9/11 conspiracy theorist removed from UN panel after B'nai B'rith request. Thank you.